Hi guys, number one Marmaduke fan here, and we're looking at Fusion for Beginners and Experts by Rebecca Sugar and Angie Wang. And this sticker is staying on as a mark of shame. So this was in the dollar bin, and I couldn't resist. So my relationship with Steven Universe is kind of like my relationship with Dragon Ball Z. I've watched a lot of clips of it online. I watched the pilot in episode one, and it's sort of like I'm always really interested when like a clip of it is circulating around or a theory vid of it is circulating around. But every time I've tried to sit and watch it, I just can't force myself to get past episode one. Maybe the most interesting thing about it is Steven Universe is kind of presented as the SJW show that's actually good, that actually has like a heart to it. But the one thing I can't get past is this idea that fusion is a metaphor for sex. Therefore, they can get away with having lesbian characters having sex by subverting it into the form of like these alien gems. And I don't know, like I've liked cartoons that have pushed the barriers a little bit. Like Samurai Jack would do that by having Jack kill someone, but then it would turn out it was a robot the whole time. How did Jack know that? The network censors said so. But I don't like the concept of fusion at all, and that's actually kind of a central conceit. So how would I do it? Well, I think it's a classic case of you've got to pick a direction. If fusion's a metaphor for sex, then you're going to have to make a cartoon that is for adults and speak to adults, which means you're not you could probably just do away with the fusion boulderization altogether and just have a adult cartoon with action and fighting where there's sexual politics for adults. Don't make it for kids. Now, if you are going to make it for kids, I think there are ways to discuss romance, discuss sexual topics at such a way that it's appropriate for any age. I love metaphor. I love when you relate something that's true about life in the context of fantasy. But my problem with fusion is I don't think they picked a direction. So if you force someone to fuse, and fusion is a metaphor for sex, then forcing them to fuse is rape, right? Uh, ah, that's the thing that weirds me out, and that's kind of what's creepy about this book is it's specifically on the topic of the show that is the sort of taboo. Let's see what we can sneak past the censors element of it. This is not the reason this was in the bargain book. Is this is not a good children's book. It doesn't communicate any story, and it assumes knowledge of the show. So I guess the framing device is that Steve and Garnet are writing a book of fusion for beginners. Now, the target audience for this ought to be parents who have no clue what this show is, but they want a pretty book for their kid that they'll read to their kid. So I want you to try to imagine a parent reading this children's book to their kid, and you're going to start to see the problem. This is mostly for like grown fans of the show who want a children's book of the show for some reason, and then want to have all these awkward questions from kids who haven't seen the show and have no clue what's going on. So, why should you fuse? To gain a different perspective. And you're just supposed to know that Steven and his girlfriend fused there, I guess. And then it just shows like all the different combinations of fusion. Like you get more powerful, like in Dragon Ball Z. You can fuse because you're alike. You can fuse because you're different. You don't have to agree on things, except that you have to agree that you're supposed to fuse. What does this mean? And if you don't want to fuse, and she's holding some underwears with aliens on them, that's cool too. Okay, so I guess that's asexuality. All right, so here's, or right, so what's her name? Jasper, like, forced someone to fuse, or good, Lapis, I don't know. This is the problem. So they're alluding to things from the show without any context. Okay, I guess fusion can be good and fusion can be bad. You can fuse for this reason, you can fuse for that reason. You can fuse with your sisters, and you can fuse with your love interest. And what? That's the other weird thing, is if it's a metaphor for sex, then you also have like orgies and incest. Did you guys think this through at all? And then you get you create all this stuff, and you're still you after your fuse. You're so amazing, and the planet, and we're on Earth together. Okay. All right. So, Steven Universe is one of these shows, I almost give up there, that I'm going to have to sit down and watch one of these times just out of respect for its cultural impact. I actually don't hate the art style. I'm an art tutor, so I kind of see in everything, like I work with kids, therefore I'm not concerned about whether they draw like Michelangelo. When I'm working with kids, I'm concerned about essentially like teaching them patience and good habits, and how to like develop the habits of journal making and art making. So I don't have a problem with the idea of kind of a silly cartoony show. I do think though that Steven Universe has become so ubiquitous that people aren't being original in their style. They're just sort of aping the adventure, maybe like a combination of the Adventure Time style and the Steven Universe style. So you got to break out of that habit. You can, if there's for a silly kind of funny show like Steven Universe, I guess that kind of fits. It doesn't fit for something like Thundercats, which is an older idea, a more romantic idea. And this idea of fusion has no romance. It has no sexiness, because it's a metaphor for sex without actually that's what's so weird about it. Usually metaphors have nothing to do with the thing they're supposed to be a metaphor of, and yet you still appreciate the impact of it. This is a direct metaphor for sex, and it's not sexy at all. It's just kind of perverse and weird, because I can't wrap my head around it. So maybe that was a way to take it. If you were going to make it a adult show, you could have the gems be kind of creepy and alien to us and completely unlike us, and have fusion just be a really weird thing, but then you wouldn't make kids books about it. So this was in the bargain bin, because no one would have a clue what the heck is going on unless they explicitly watched like every episode of the show. You got to use media to introduce newbies and normies to your show. Even if you're going to do a thing like, hey, this is a book within a book of the universe, give kids stories, give them adventures, give them fights, give them drama, give them struggle. Now, some people have said the show has that, but the weirdness of fusion is keeping me away. All right, that's enough. I'm not going to go 20 minutes about this. Let's go over it again, and I'll talk about SJW. It's not number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Bye, Steven Universe.